Why do I do this podcast? Well, let's first talk about the media. So why a podcast? Normally, people go into books or writing, but I thought it was much more adapted to my own personality to do a podcast. I like tech. I like being seen, and I like sharing with a bit more improvisation than what I usually would do if I was writing a text. And when I'm writing a text, I'm just gathering ideas, and the same for presentations. I never can write a presentation easily. I need to just put lots of ideas and start structuring them, and then put something in order and create a storyline, which is really nice because it's structured, it looks polished, but I thought it was better to share, to have preparation time, but also improvisation time, so that I can be seen like I am, and not in a wrong or different way. Just an example: when you send an email to somebody, usually the email is badly understood, while in the beginning it was based on good intention, and I just wanted to avoid that. Here, when it's on a podcast and a video, we can hear my voice. We can, I can be seen, and it's more genuine. And I would hope that what I'm saying is better and clearly understood. One of the tone I wanted to have. I'm not doing podcast because I want to criticize. Or I want to appear as controversial. What my plan is to be able to share what I've learned, to demonstrate the hard work that I've put into learning what I've learned, because maybe on a podcast on 5 minutes it looks easy, but over a career of almost 30 years, there was a lot of very, very difficult moments. And the podcast is the synthesis of those difficult moments that I try to put in a positive and honest and transparent, fact-based way, as opposed to being over-controversial. However, I'm still going to address element of my career and the industry that I'm working in, or element that I've encountered in my career that could be somehow controversial. But the point is not to create the controversy. The point is to explain my views on those points and my take on how to go across some challenges that I've faced. When I was learning in England, I've done an MBA there when I was actually I had no experience, so it was after my studies. And so I was very fresh. So maybe it was too early, but still I've done it because I wanted to go into business. And one of the things that I've learned then is reading those books from Porter or Mintzberg, or strategy, of course, but not only them. But I always thought that those books were so well written. There was so much. It was an ideal. It was almost like a ethereal, or something that was surreal, that somebody would just write a book out of nothing. And of course I was dreaming a bit, but I knew that there was a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of experience that those great thinkers had to put into those books. But it's something that I always was dreaming about. I was not just reading the book for what it was, but trying to understand the full context of it. And it's an element that is very important for me also, that drove me into willing to share what I've learned, is simply because there's a lot of things that have happened, and creating a synthesis and putting this into a podcast and maybe later in some written forms was something that was appealing to me. Of course, the willingness to share is also important. I'm not doing a podcast because I want to stay hidden. I do this podcast because there's something that I have in me, in a willingness to share with others, and creating a community or putting bridges. I'll be modest about that, but if there's something that somebody can take out of what I'm saying, it's also great. Why sharing? When I was in a big German insurance group, I was in the high potential leadership development program, and one of the teacher or the coach there was Jamie Anderson. He's an Australian guy who's a business thinker, and he was somehow provocative in the way he was writing case studies. And one of the case study he wrote was about Madonna. Oh, why Madonna? We talk about business. Madonna was actually a CEO, and she was simply a dancer, and then she wanted to be in the front line. So she navigated the industry of singing and dancing to put herself into the front line to be the lead singer. But if you look at her throughout her career, she has always put herself forward, whether it's singing, whether it's a controversy, whether it's a book or photos, etc. There was always activity and the willingness of that person to stay in the spotlight, to remain relevant, to keep on learning as well. It was not always in front of the camera and the media, but there was also a lot of hard work behind the scene that were done by her and her team. If you want to make yourself relevant, then it was also important to be seen and to be visible. And this exercise for me in a podcast, it's not only to be relevant, it's also a very strong personal journey that I have undertaken. Of course, I like speaking, I like being in front of an audience, but it's not necessarily so natural. Maybe it appears so, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. You be the judge of that. But the key there is that for me, it's always a journey. I need to prepare. I need to be emotionally prepared. I need to have my content. I need to be able to improvise, and it's something that I've undertaken much more for myself than for the audience. I thought it was time, after having put this podcast or this sharing in the back of my head for a long time. I had the mental space and maybe the maturity to start this journey, which will certainly help me to be consistent and to record how I was thinking at some point, what I've learned, and to be able to go back to it and to keep on improving as a manager, as a leader, as a mentor, or as a colleague.